Back here on CBS Sports HQ as we continue to update you on the Major League Baseball draft. Take a look back at the first 5 picks. Bit of a surprise. Eli Willits, the high school shortstop from Oklahoma, goes #1 overall to the Washington Nationals. Tyler Bremner, a righty out of UC Santa Barbara, going 2 to the Angels. Cade Anderson off the board at 3 to the Seattle Mariners from LSU. Super talented lefty there. Ethan Holliday back to the franchise. His father was drafted by the Colorado Rockies. And then Liam Doyle sliding to 5. He had been mocked as high as 3. So he goes to the St. Louis Cardinals as you take a look at the picks 6 through 15. And something that stands out through the first 15 picks, in fact, the first 12 picks, 6 high school shortstops in the first 12 picks, including JoJo Parker, his twin brother Jacob Parker, also a draft prospect. And you see the Red Sox pick Kyson Witherspoon. He also has a twin brother, Malachi, and he's also a draft prospect. So a big day for the Twins, the brothers, the families. Just a great day for baseball families all around the country. Back here with our CBS Sports HQ family, MLB analyst Chris Welsh and national college reporter for Baseball America, Jacob Rudner. Jacob, a surprising pick at the top with Eli Willits to the Nationals. Eli's dad played for the Halos. And then with the second pick, the Angels decide not to take Cade Anderson or Ethan Holliday and select righty Tyler Bremner out of UC Santa Barbara. I did not see his name this high at 2 in mocks. Jacob, what grade would you give this pick by the Halos?
You know, this might come as a surprise here, but I actually would give that a pretty strong B+. I'm not going to get it into the A range because I do think that they did cut a deal to be able to get that draft pick done. However, I think that this is a better pick than people are going to give it credit for. There's a lot of chatter out there about Tyler Bremner potentially having a down year in 2025, and I think that there's a degree to which that's somewhat true. But at the same time, this is a guy who struck out 74 batters over his last 43 1/3 innings. He was excellent over the last 6 weeks of the season. And one thing people don't really know, he lost his mother, unfortunately, this season, and he had to deal with that off the field. So this is a guy who was dealing with unmeasurable distraction while trying to be successful for the UC Santa Barbara Gauchos. And in my opinion, he did an excellent job. He's a polished right-handed pitcher with a double-plus changeup, one of the best changeups in this draft, up to 98 miles per hour. He's the highest overall draft pick in school history, and I think he belongs in that spot. His slider has flashed plus at times. I think he can get there eventually. It's not quite yet. Regressed a little bit in 2025, but this is a high probability starter who fits comfortably in the first round. Did I think he would go second overall? No, but I think it's a really great pick right out of the Angels' backyard.
There were some rumors also early in the draft that Bremner might be a guy that's opened up to potentially cutting a deal in that #1 spot. What I think is most fascinating, though, is that we got to that 2 spot. Cade Anderson was there, and the team decided to not. So this must have been a deal that had been locked in place for quite a while, because what I thought would have been the discussion piece would have been Bremner versus Doyle, and which close to major league ready pitcher are you wanting to bank on? Were you wanting to bank on probably the highest graded fastball with that splitter, or was it going to be this double-plus changeup and this really high-graded fastball that Bremner's got? And clearly, I think this shows that there was a deal signed. I think this is a great pick, though. Like, I do think this is going to be one of those guys, and I think part of, outside of just the deal being cut, the Angels probably looked at which of these guys can we move the most, and I think that's Bremner. I think the fastball changeup combination with that slider moving up is something that they felt more comfortable with over maybe the innings, and still maybe some potential projection-y things that come out with Cade Anderson, or clearly with Doyle maybe just having to need a little bit more development outside of that splitter. So it was a very, very surprising pick, but you can kind of piece it together a little bit more with the Angels wanting to cut a deal and then clearly looking for a guy that is as close to major league ready as possible.
And let's be transparent here, because this isn't the first time that guys are cutting deals since these draft slots came out. Jacob, this happens every year in the MLB draft since this slotting system was implemented. So it shouldn't be a surprise to people that these kids sometimes will move up to take a deal and a team takes them higher. Do you think that's a problem here in the MLB draft, because that system is not in place in any other major sport?
No, I don't view it as a problem. And I think that the reason it makes sense is because a lot of the teams that we see shaving a little bit of money at the top of the draft are going to be the same ones that go and spend a little bit more money later on. This is a really deep draft, not a top heavy one. A lot of the conversation around the industry leading up to this was that there weren't a lot of surefire first round picks this year. It was very murky as to who was going to go first overall. We talked about it earlier, that there was a lot of conversation between about 3 different guys: Cade Anderson, Ethan Holliday, Eli Willits, who ended up being the first overall pick. There was confusion up until the selection was made. And, there were a lot of people who were saying that it was a conversation up until the last second. So for these teams to maybe save a little bit of money in a draft where they weren't so sure about who they were going to take at the top, to me makes a lot of sense. It opens the door for them to be able to go and get somebody who may be weighing going to school next season or trying and figure out a deal later on. This gives them a lot of flexibility, and it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, just for the context here, the Nationals picking 1, the slot value assigned to that spot was just over $11 million. The second pick for the Angels, just over $10 million. And they get Tyler Bremner at 2nd overall. We know the Mariners took Cade Anderson at 3. The Rockies took Ethan Holliday at 4. And then the Cardinals selected Tennessee lefty Liam Doyle. And Jacob, absolute strikeout machine. What are the Cardinals getting in Doyle?
For my money, the most electric pitcher in this draft. We called Cade Anderson the best pitcher earlier on, and if we're going to assign a grade to this one, I'll throw an A right on it as well. Liam Doyle has an outstanding fastball, the best in the draft, in my opinion. It's a pure 70 grade pitch. He gets a ton of strikeouts on it. He is a little bit of a one-pitch wonder, so we see somebody here who doesn't necessarily have the same kind of refinement on his secondary stuff that you would expect out of a pick so early in the draft. But when it comes to Liam Doyle, he's a competitor. He's fierce. He wants to be out on the mound as much as possible. We saw him go out on 2 days rest and close the Knoxville Regional against Wake Forest to send the Volunteers to the Super Regional round. And I think that's just something that's in his DNA. So this feels like a win for the Cardinals to me. And another guy who I think has a chance to move up very quickly to the major league level. Like I said, that fastball is outstanding. Led Division I in strikeout rate at 42.6%. Hitters know the fastball's coming. They still can't touch it. It's up to 100 miles per hour. And the key here is that lends itself really nicely to him potentially transitioning over to the bullpen, which could accelerate his development up to the major leagues if necessary.
And we talk about grades a lot with 80-20 scale when we're talking about players. This is like a 75 grade fastball. Another thing we use instead of getting into the analytics is just saying the shape of the fastball is really, really great. And hopefully the hope is it's going to carry over to the major league ball. But devastating strikeout guy on top of all the stats you guys have laid out, about 34.5 K minus walk percentage. So that's taking the value of the strikeout percentage and taking away the walk percentage. And it's just elite stuff. And if the Cardinals can continue to develop at a higher level, like I mentioned, he's got this splitter. It had a 40% whiff rate in college, slider, cutter type of pitch they're going to have to work through. And maybe that's the type of thing that was a differentiating factor between a team like the Angels wanting to have a major league ready guy now, that maybe there's a tiny bit more with Doyle with a little tiny relief risk out there. But he is super fascinating, and you can never go wrong betting on the best fastball in the draft, and that's what the Cardinals did.
At 6, the Pirates draft a high school pitcher, righty Seth Hernandez. Then with the 7th selection, the Marlins take Oregon State shortstop Iva Arquette. Jacob, what should we know about this kid?
6'5", 220-pound shortstop with outstanding tools. He's had massive springs in college so far, and this was another one of them. Plus power to all fields. He improved his discipline in 2025, which was a big thing going into the season. A fringe runner who profiles best probably at third base with a really good arm. He's played second in the past, but we also saw him handle shortstop well. He did a really good job at the position in the College World Series, made a couple fun plays there, and I do think he has a chance to stay just thanks to solid to average athleticism. And again, that arm will really play, but the carrying tool with Iva Arquette is his ability to swing the bat. He's a powerful hitter. Like I said, the feel to hit is above average as well. I think that this is a polished hitter. And if you look up and down that Marlins organization and you track who the hitters they have right now are, this is somebody who's going to slot in at or near the top right away. I think that he has a chance to get to the major leagues very quickly. We usually talk about that with the college bats at the top of the draft. That's not really the case this year because of how thin it is in that department. But this is a guy who stands above the rest for me. I think that he's a quick riser for the Marlins, which is something that they need. He's going to be able to contribute on the left side of the infield, and he brings a little bit of pop that organization might have been lacking on the offensive side.
Last week, I got to actually spend some time, just a little bit, with Travis Bazzana, who was the top pick, who was at Oregon State. And I talked with him about Iva Arquette. He was very excited to talk, especially about not himself, but talk about somebody else, and was just oohing about Iva Arquette and the projectability. And on top of everything else, a lot of the data is super supportive. Outside, he's just a big physical guy. I've comped him. If you've looked at Colson Montgomery with the White Sox without some of the swing and whiff issues, even though there are some swing and whiff issues, he was well above average on his in-zone contact. He hit the ball. They have a stat 90th percentile exit velocity. So, you know, your top end exit velocities. He was well near the top. He barrels the ball. Just one of the best well-rounded hitters. I really love this because maybe this has been outside the type that the Marlins have been drafting. So I really like the Iva Arquette pick. I know Travis Bazzana does as well.
Another shortstop off the board with the 8th pick, high schooler JoJo Parker to the Blue Jays. His twin brother Jacob, also a draft prospect. Jacob, 6 high school shortstops in the first 12 picks, and really a run on shortstops at the top of this draft. What do you make of that?
Well, it just goes to show you where we're at in the game. I think that teams want the most valuable position on the field to be guys who are high-value early-round draft picks that they're able to develop in their image, and this is no exception for any of these early-round shortstops, and JoJo Parker included. He hit his way into the first round, advanced feel for the barrel for somebody who's his age, and for me, one of the best pure hitters in this draft overall. It's not necessarily the most powerful bat out there, but it is a really good one in terms of his ability to get to pitches, both spin and velocity, which is something that we look for when we start evaluating prospects earlier on in the cycle. Right now, he's a shortstop. I think he's also kind of like Iva Arquette, more likely to be a third baseman long term. He also has the athleticism to play corner outfield if that ever comes down to it, and the Blue Jays decide that that's the best move for him. But again, above average hit, power, has some projection there. It's a clean, quiet setup. He is a Mississippi State commit. Twin brother Jacob, also 2025 draft prospect like you mentioned, but this is a guy who's going to sign with the Blue Jays and be pretty productive in my opinion.
All right, 2 more shortstops go off the board at 13 and 14. Then with the 15th pick, the Red Sox take Kyson Witherspoon, a righty out of Oklahoma. He also has a twin brother in Malachi. And look, you're a twin brother. You're going to be, hopefully these teams, maybe some of these teams, maybe the Toronto Blue Jays will go get Jacob. Maybe Boston will end up going to get Malachi. Jacob, how would you grade Boston's pick here, getting Kyson at 15 overall?
This is where we bump into the A range. This is a flat A for me. I think that Kyson Witherspoon was going to be a high-quality pick pretty much no matter where he went. We're talking about somebody who has an extreme amount of polish to his game. He's very in control of his entire arsenal. He's got a fastball that he can ratchet up to 99 miles per hour, even deep into games. You know, he really has great stamina. And then you look at the secondaries on this guy, and they're also pretty outstanding. It's a plus slider. He throws an occasional cutter that's looked good, and he has solid feel for a changeup. It's a quick and quirky delivery, but this is an athletic pitcher who throws a ton of strikes. He cut his walk rate in half year over year, and for me, probably the top college righty on the board. Top 10 pick made a lot of sense here. Fell out to number 15 to the Red Sox, and to me, that's a pretty big steal in this draft.
I agree. The stuff too, as far as the pitch mix, you don't really see it across the board. I think the closest comp right now would have been Kate Anderson, who we look and we're like, okay, there's 3, maybe 4 even in plus pitches. I think it's plus pitches across the board. Great shape on the fastball, solid shape with that cutter when he's throwing it. You like the curve, a lot of arm side on his changeup. The control will be a question because, as mentioned, he doesn't have big extensions. It's a big conversation piece with pitchers because he's got kind of this quirky delivery that just fires out, but it's really good stuff. I think this was a great pick. It leads in a question. I know Jacob and I are both big on another pitcher that was still floating out there, a college pitcher in Gage Wood, that, you know, that for Witherspoon to be the guy, I think the belief is that they can push that command with all of that stuff to be a potential frontline starter. So the rich get richer. Red Sox have a really, really interesting and great pitching prospect in their organization, a slew of them, and they just added another.
Jacob, do franchises tend to try to draft, if there is a sibling, if there is a brother, a family member in the draft, do they try to go get that sibling? Because, as you know, there's a long road to the big leagues. Sometimes it's a year, sometimes 2, sometimes 5 years. And when you have that familiarity with a family member, do big league teams take that into account? Or they go, hey, this is a business. We're going to draft you if you're there. If you're not, we're not going to make any special exceptions.
this is a business, and they're not going to make any special exceptions to make it happen. But I will say this, before the college season started, I actually did write a feature story about the Witherspoon twin brothers, and they would love to be able to play together. They've done it their entire careers. They went to JUCO in Florida together. They went to Oklahoma together as transfers, and now they're draft prospects in the same draft. Malachi is kind of the uncut version of Kyson Witherspoon. He's got outstanding stuff, but just less feel for it, doesn't necessarily know where he's putting it. I do think he's more of a gem in the rough for some of these teams, but he is outstanding as well and has the potential to be a really good pitcher. So the Red Sox might think that he makes a lot of sense for them. I don't necessarily think that they're going to go out of their way to make it happen for the family, as cool as it would be, as much as the brothers want that. But you want to talk about the prospect. Malachi is very talented in his own right, and I think he makes a lot of sense in the top 3 rounds for any of these teams looking for early talents on the mound who can make a quick impact in their organization.
Boston has a few more picks on day 1. Perhaps they will go get Malachi, or perhaps they'll go get another player as they ride a 10-game winning streak into the All-Star break. Chris Welsh and Jacob Rudner here with us on CBS Sports HQ as we take a look back at picks 6 through 15. As I mentioned, the big theme here was a run on shortstops, 6 high school shortstops in the first 12 picks, including JoJo Parker to the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll continue to follow the MLB draft tonight. Much more ahead. Jim Bowden will join us as well. Winners and losers. One of the big winners of the night, the Holliday family. Ethan Holliday going 4th overall to the Colorado Rockies.